move wonderfully. The issuing of contracts and payment of contractors are delayed or have been cancelled in mid-process. That this House debates at its next sitting of Council the effect of nepotism, factionalism and corruption on the growth of municipalities and job creation. I so move.
Is there any other hand in this row? The Honourable Kaula.
Ngiyathokoza sihlalo bese sikukhumbule sihlalo. On behalf of Inkatha Freedom Party, I move a notice of a motion that the House debates the increasing levels of road carnages in our country. Over the Easter weekend in 2017, South Africa lost more lives than in 2016, a 51% increase in total. This becomes worse when it is festive season in the country. I so move.
Thank you, sir. Is there a member? The Honourable Julius, the Honourable Mikilaikos.
Thank you, Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I move without notice that in the next sitting of Council, that Council debates the causes and effects of South Africa's recent credit ratings downgrades to junk status and its subsequent impact on our economy and citizens. I so move.
The Honourable Mikilaikos.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move that at its next sitting, Council debates the legality and constitutionality of political parties having and employing their own military wings post-1994. I so move.
The Honourable Ngita.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I hereby move without motion without notice that Council notes and congratulates the Eastern Cape boxing sensation Zolani Tete for winning and crowned as the new world boxing organization, bantamweight champion on the 23rd of April. Also notes with happiness that this was after weekend historic victory that saw him winning his second major world championship in convincing points victory over the Philippine Arthur Villania in England. Further notes that the former junior weight bantamweight Tete sets his eye on the conquering of the World Boxing Association and the International Boxing Federation before he retired from the boxing. Congratulates the last born for holding the South African flag high, the province of the Eastern Cape, the Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality as a boxing maker for his best conquering of the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any other member who wishes to make a motion without notice? Motion. We are now moving to the motion without notice. We start from this side. The Honourable Mgwebu, the Honourable Mikilaikos.
On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that the Council notes that over the weekend, scores of people seeking medical assistance and legal advice filled the community hall in Zozo village in the Eastern Cape, where optometrists, nurses, and legal advisors offered up their time to serve the village free of charge. The community members were bussed in from 5 villages in Kwaleja in the Eastern Cape. This medico-legal camp aims to bring much-needed help to rural areas so that community members need not travel to clinics which most are unable to afford. This initiative was started by Senior Prosecutor Althea Rhodes in 2015. This initiative shows that there are people who still care about the poor and less fortunate in the Eastern Cape. I move that this House congratulates Ms. Rhodes and her team of professionals for their noble sacrifice and wish them success in reaching out to other villages. I so move.
Is there any objection to this motion? None. The Honourable Mikilaikos.
Thank you, Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move without notice that Council notes that President Zuma was booed and heckled other things that would have been deemed unparliamentary at yesterday's May Day events in Bloemfontein. notes that this public condemnation anti-Zuma marches across the country by various members and stalwarts of the ANC, SACP, opposition parties, and civil society. Notes that President Zuma has publicly indicated that he is willing to step down as president if it is the will of the people, and that the will of the people across party political lines by now has been made quite clear. That this House, as representatives of the people, call upon President Zuma to adhere to
Not be proceeded with. It will now become a motion, a motion without notice. The motion without notice will now become a notice of a motion. Honorable Julius, your hand was up? Okay. Honorable Engelbrecht.
Madam Chair, thank you. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move a motion without notice that this House notes the Western Cape High Court judgment that the process of procurement of 9.6 gigawatts of nuclear energy was unlawful and unconstitutional. That this judgment vindicates the DA stance that this process was unlawful as it was not debated in Parliament and there was a lack of public participation. The DA will, as always, continue holding the ANC national government accountable for its unlawful actions. I so move.
Is there any objection to this motion? Is there an objection? There is an objection. The motion is not carried. It now becomes a notice of a motion. The Honorable Julius.
Thank you, Chairperson. I also note that the ANC is so divided in this.
Is that a motion without notice?
No, ma'am.
Yes.
My apologies for that note. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice. The Council notes that on Friday, 21 April 2017, one of the saddest tragedies hit South Africa. 20 people died, including 14 school children, when a taxi that transported learners collided with a truck on the Groblersdal Road outside Bronkhorstspruit. The Council welcomes investigation into the cause of the accident and hope that this will ensure that such incidents are reduced in future, and that Council sends condolences to the bereaved families. I so move.
Is there any objection to this motion? Thank you. The motion has been agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. The Honorable Kaula will be followed by the Honorable Mtetwa. The Honorable... Please proceed, sir.
Ngiyathokoza sihlalo egameni leqembu inkatha yenkululeko ngethula isiphakamiso esingenasexwayiso ukuba lendlu yaqaphela ukuba umkhandlu kamasipala waseNquthu uzobamba ukhetho lwa wonke amawadi ayi-17 ngomhla ka-24 kuMeyi 2017. Lokhu kwenzeka ngemva kokuba iqembu lenkatha elabe liwine lo masipala ngokhetho luka-Agasti ngo-2016 libanjwe inkunzi ngaba semagunyeni banquma ukuhlakaza umasipala ngoba nje nakho behlulwe ukwamukela ukuphuma emandleni. Siyaqaphela ukuba sebeqalile ukusetshenziswa kwezinhlaka zikahulumeni ukusabisa amalungu nabaholi benkatha ngokubabophela amanqine enyathi babhece ngobende kusetshenziswa oklebe kepha sithi kasiphela amandla okhethweni siyangodli futhi kuyocaca. Ngesikhathi osibanibani ontabakayikhonjwa belibele ukuhwebhana thina siqwashisa abantu ngengozi yobehlela abantu baseNquthu uma bengenza iphutha ekade sebelilungisile. Kumphakathi waseNquthu sithi qhubekani nisathembe siyi-IFP, asintshontshi, asigebengi, asisengi ezimithiyo, sethembekile. Ngiyathokoza sihlalo.
Ngiyathokoza baba. Is there any objection to this motion? Motion has been objected to, and therefore it becomes Datem Mtetwa.
On behalf of the African National Congress, I hereby move without notice that the Council note with profound sadness that a 53-year-old legend boxing trainer, Nick Duran, died in a bike accident near Clarence in the Free State on Friday, the 21st April. He was one of the top-rated boxing trainers that he produced 95 South African champs, in all 17 weight divisions, 38 world champs, and 27 international champions through the WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO, WBF, and IBO organizations. And he was also the president of the Crusaders Bike Club that has more than 500 members. South Africa has lost one of its best trainers in the history of boxing, who was not only a trainer, promoter, manager, but also a father figure to his stellar trainees, who also represented and positioned our country's boxing talent among the best in the world. Duran was recently awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award at the South African Boxing Award last year for his immense contribution to the boxing industry. Therefore, charge the boxing fraternity to follow and keep his legacy. May his soul rest in peace. I so move.
Thank you, sir. Is there any objection to this motion? The motion has been agreed to in terms of Section 65. The Honorable Zwane.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hereby move without notice that Council 1 notes with deepest sympathy that the Pan-Africanist Congress, PAC stalwart, freedom fighter and former Tshwane Metropolitan Council Councillor Philip Khoshana died at the age of 80 on the 19th of April 2017 and laid to rest with a special provincial official funeral on the 28th of April. 2, Council notes that as a PAC Western Cape Regional Secretary, he led more than 50,000 anti-pass law protesters from Langa in Cape Town in a march to Parliament on the 30th of March 1960. 3, that Council notes that after the banning of political organizations, he fled to Ethiopia and Angola, where he gained military training on guerrilla warfare and also pursued his studies, where he attained masters in economics. 4th, Council further notes that he was a brave and devoted freedom fighter who dedicated his life to the emancipation of Black South Africans that saw him harboring the establishment of a farmers' association in Winterveld, north of Pretoria. And finally, Council therefore, as Council we therefore celebrate a life well spent for the people's cause. May his soul rest in peace. Also move.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any objection to this motion? Motion has been agreed to in terms of Section 65. The Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. On behalf of the People's Party, the African National Congress, I hereby move without notice that Council notes with profound sadness and concern that the 2 adults and 18 school children lost their lives in a head-on collision between a bus and a truck on R25 road between Bronkhorstspruit and Verina on Friday, the 21st April. Also notes that this horrific accident happened when the school bus was on the way back home as it was turning in an intersection when the truck hit it and the fire started to burn all over. Further, painfully notes that amongst the dead were a father and his 2 children, as well as 3 siblings, and the pupil attended the Refano Primary School and the Mahlenga High School, and were all from Volvekop and Verina in Mpumalanga. It is with great appreciation that both Gauteng and Mpumalanga provincial governments had jointly worked to assist the funeral and other arrangements with the families. our heartfelt condolences to the affected families, the schools, and the communities. I so move.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Lamini, your motion is exactly the same motion as the one read out by the Honorable Julius. It is a motion of condolence. I think we should just agree that the House will send the same condolence motion to the bereaved families. The Honorable Manopole.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of African National Congress, I hereby move without notice that the Council knows with excitement that a 27-year-old Gift Nkwe became the first ever African-born player to enter Major League Basketball, noting a hit at the first at-bat in his career, helping his team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, beat the Chicago Cubs. It is worth noting that even though they may not be able to say his name correctly, but he has not stopped sports commentators from singing Nkweyepe praises. Also knows that the dream came true for him because of it. He has been a dreaming since he has been 10-year-old boy, and that he also means so much to the people of South Africa and basketball in Africa. The nation is proud to see a rising star in Nkweyepe Calibra's break, Barriers becoming the first African-born player in Major League Basketball game. He has done our nation proud. Therefore, encourage other aspiration sports players to use Nkweyepe achievement as an inspiration for them to reach the highest level of their success. I so move.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any objection to this motion? The motion has been agreed to in terms of Section 65. Is there any other member? The Honorable Mpambo Shibukwana. The Honorable Mpambo Shibukwana, the Honorable Motlashupin, the Honorable Quimby, the Honorable Terablanche, the Honorable Labuskafu.
Thank you, Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that the Council notes, firstly, the destruction caused by the fire in Imzamoyetu Hout Bay and the City of Cape Town's efforts to restore the dignity of the affected citizens of the Western Cape. Further, we thank the residents and the NGOs who came to help out for their cooperation and the Department of Social Development for their assistance during the trying times. I so move.
Is there any objection to this motion? None. The motion has been agreed to in terms of Section 65. Honorable Motlashupin.
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. I hereby move without notice on behalf of the African National Congress that Council notes with sadness the death of a 12-year-old boy in Kolini after allegedly being assaulted by two farmers. Also knows that the alleged murder of the boy was the reason for violent protest in the area when residents went on a rampage, burning and looting businesses. Further knows that the family of the murdered boy identified his body over the weekend, making it possible to start with funeral arrangements. Therefore, sends our deepest condolences to the family of the young boy and hope that the police will do everything possible to bringing the perpetrators to book. I so move.
Thank you, sir. Is there any objection to this motion? None. Has been agreed to in terms of Section 65. The Honorable Quimby.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hereby move without notice on behalf of the African National Congress that Council notes with sadness the passing away of the first Deputy Provincial Secretary of the South African Communist Party in the Western Cape, Comrade Tumisang Bojabutseha. Also notes that Comrade Tumisang was serving as a political advisor to the Chief Whip of the ANC and also served as an organizer and a senior researcher of the ANC caucus in Parliament. Further notes that Comrade Tumisang passed away at Belleville Melumet Hospital on Sunday, 30th April, after a short illness. Therefore, convey our heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of Comrade Tumiseng in these difficult times. I so move. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any objection to this motion? Motion has been agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. The Honorable Terry Blanche.
Thank you, Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that the Council note the spontaneous formation of the freedom movement by concerned South Africans from all walks of life. Their mass rally on Thursday, 27 April 2017 in Pretoria against President Jacob Zuma and further state capture attempts, and that this House debates the contributions made by demonstrations of this nature to strengthen our democracy. I so move.
Thank you, sir. Is there any objection to this motion? Motion has been objected to, therefore it becomes a motion, a notice of a motion. The Honorable Labuskaghni.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that the Council notes Swellendam Municipality has been recognized as South Africa's top eco-friendly destination. The Luxury Travel Guide publication selected Swellendam as the eco-friendly destination of the year, South Africa in the Africa and Middle East Awards 2017 category. Further, Mossel Bay Municipality has been named the greenest local municipality in the country. The Council commends Mossel Bay Municipality's decision to use the 3.5 million rand prize money to fund more greening projects and congratulates these municipalities on their achievements. I so move.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any objection to this motion? None. The motion has been agreed to in terms of Section 65. Honourable members, is there any other member who wishes to make a motion without notice? None. Thank you very much. We proceed to the subject for discussion as printed in our order paper. And I have the privilege to call to the podium for the first take on this subject, the Honourable Khai.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Deputy Minister of Labour, Dilizinda, Honourable Chief Whip, Honourable Members, Special Delegates, officials from the Department of Labour, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like to take this opportunity to first thank the leadership of the institution for selecting me to be one of the speakers on this debate on Workers' Day and workers' rights. I've been specifically allocated an area of focus, which is the creation of retention of decent work and sustainable livelihood as a strategic response to the major challenges facing our society. That is high unemployment, poverty, deepening inequality, and rural marginalization. Because this is also about the Workers' Day, let me just give a brief historical underpinnings of the May Day. 2017 marks the 122 years since the first celebration of May Day in 1895, which took place in South Africa. It signifies for the first time a link between workers globally as part of a proletarian solidarity. It has been preceded by a long period of strife between labor and capital and the development of the ideas of proletarian internationalism within the international workers' movement. The ideologues of this organization espouse the ideas of international unity and solidarity, a belief in fraternity of all nations, proletarian class awareness and resolution to unite in the struggle against social and economic oppression soon made them realize that appeal was rather better expressed in working masses to unite. The idea of proletarian solidarity first declared and substantiated late in 1845 when Engels wrote in the Festival of Nations in London that the proletarians in all countries have one and same interest, one and same enemy, and one and same struggle. The great mass of proletarians are, by their very nature, free from national prejudices. Only the awakening proletariat can bring about fraternalism between different nations. The creation of the International Working Men's Association, which was to become known as the First International, on September 1864 in St. Martin's Hall, London, was a fundamental landmark in the development of proletarian international solidarity. Under the banner, "Workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains and the world to win." It was from the First International that the coordination of strike across country borders developed and mushroomed from the first internationally coordinated strike of 1866, covering England, Germany, France, and Belgium. The International Workers Association organized strike funds for workers globally, initiated by Karl Marx in 1869 in response to brutal repression on workers that were on strike. The 1860s and 1870s were characterized by a sharp rise in workers' strikes and solidarity campaigns conducted every month. The Paris Commune of 1871 played a decisive role in the evolution of proletarian solidarity, with the First International collecting for the money for the Commune. Frightened by the Paris Commune, as well as influence of the First International, the majority of European governments outlawed the International Working Men's Association. In 1880s, class consciousness of the working people in developed capitalist countries have reached a developed level as a result of greater internationalism of the working class movement. Facing a common situation, working people began to put forward similar and common demands. The common demands were for an end to exploitation of the working class and granting of socio-economic rights to the working class. An 8-hour working day became foremost among these demands and was held up as a slogan of the international working class movement in the 1880s. A new international proletarian union, the Second International, came into being, and at this stage an international day of holiday of proletarian solidarity was promoted as a result of widespread acceptance of the ideas of proletarian internationalism and a higher stage of development in the consciousness of the working people and their class. The Chicago events of the 3rd and 4th May 1886, when American workers organized by the International Workers of the World held rallies, marched in support of an 8-hour working day, resulted in all 8 leaders being arrested, put on trial, and 7 of the 8 being hanged in 1887. This was a culmination of what had proceeded over decades and played a major role in establishing the 1st of May, the May Day as workers' holiday globally in 1800. It is against this backdrop that the first May Day event in South Africa took place in 1895. Massive May Day rallies took place in the 1920s to the 1960s. These were led through bitter struggles under the leadership of Industrial Commercial Workers Union, the Council of Non-European Trade Unions, the first non-racial trade union federation, the South African Congress of Trade Unions, and COSATU over the decades. Following mass May Day events in 1986, under pressure, the apartheid regime was in 1987 forced to declare May Day as a paid public holiday. 91 years of struggle had resulted in a day in which workers could relax and celebrate their achievement with their families. May Day has continued to be celebrated since then. In the transitional executive period, discussions were concluded on official days that will be recognized in a new democracy. May Day was one of these, and after the April 1994 elections, the ANC government announced Workers' Day as a paid public holiday. In line with other countries whose mode of production is capitalist, the term Workers' Day has been adopted whilst the trade union movement stick to the origin of this day in calling it more correctly May Day. May Day remains an opportunity to consider how far we have come in emancipating South African workers from economic exploitation and ensuring a better life for workers and our people as a whole. Together, the ANC and COSAT and other progressive trade union formations ensure that rights of workers are protected in our constitution and in many progressive laws. Chief among these is a right of workers to form and belong to trade unions, which is enshrined in the Constitution. The Constitution also states that everyone has a right to fair labor practices and that every worker has a right to strike. The ANC government has also enacted legislation to further protect advanced workers' rights thanks to the struggle of workers over the years. These laws include the Labor Relations Act, the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, the Employment Equity Act, the Skills Development Act, the Unemployment Insurance Act, the Occupational and Safety Act, as well as the Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act. These laws have been designed to protect the rights of workers, guide wage determination, and general working conditions of South African workers. The laws protect children from being abused as child labor, protect the right of women to go on maternity leave and not to lose their jobs. It provides the right of workers to be trained and provided with necessary skills. Most importantly, the country's labor legislation now protects the right of vulnerable workers, such as farm workers, domestic workers, and workers in hospitality sector, such as hotels and similar establishments. These are all rights that were gained through the hard work of workers in this country over a number of decades. In 2016 State of the Nation address, further amendments to the labor legislation, a new labor regime aimed to further improving the rights of and protection of workers was announced. In the transitional period immediately prior to the first democratic election, the ANC, in its major policy guide of 1992, Ready to Govern, laid out a future democratic labor relations regime for workers. The 2007 52nd ANC National Conference in Polokwane emphasized in economic transformation and creation of decent work opportunities. The primary focus of economic policies. The conference also resolved that transformation of the structures of production and ownership of the economy for inclusive growth. This focus included the expansion of an expanded public works program and the linkage of industrial strategy with key youth development program in the form of an integrated youth development strategy. 7 years of implementation and evaluation of a practice in implementing the creation and retention of decent work in public sector and of trying to ensure that the private sector adheres to this principle of promoting equality and decent work at workplace, shaped the conduct of 2014 ANC National Election Manifesto. The manifesto, in assessing the previous 5 years and determining what needed to be done, articulates that an investigation into the modalities for the introduction of a national minimum wage as one of the key mechanisms to reduce income inequality be undertaken immediately. The strengthening of the enforcement of provision of the Employment Equity Act that requires that all employers report on disproportionate income differential at all wage levels and submit plans to their progressive reduction be undertaken. Steps to ensure that collective bargaining takes place in all sectors of the economy and that bargaining council be used as vehicles to promote greater equity in the economy, linking access to state incentives and procurement to adherence to living wage standards, and commitments to promoting wage equity in collective agreement. Steps to strengthen existing laws to ensure faster change in employment equity in all workplaces be undertaken by enforcing an accelerated implementation of employment equity targets. Greater protection for workers and employers in the informal sectors. Enforcement and measures to eliminate abusive work practices, atypical work, and labor broking. The intervention that needed to deal with the challenges of creating decent work and sustainable livelihood were the following: that we should raise levels of fixed investment in the economy by increasing private fixed investment in productive sectors of the economy and also in prescribed assets. That banks should reallocate capital to productive investment as well as to small, medium enterprises sectors. Use of state land and capital is pivotal herein. In building inclusive growth and thereby reducing inequality by ensuring that growth must be accompanied by transformation. And linking risk distribution with production is key. On investment and infrastructure, since 2008, investment in public infrastructure has helped us to avoid recession. The construction industry is the biggest driver of new job growth. In addition, the infrastructure build program develops a value chain which brings in private investment into economy and often result in joint financing. On transforming the countryside, we have made commitment to speed up the return of the land to our people, and land is a key priority. The support program and access to markets is critical. The introduction of the agri-parks will play an important role in this regard. And the better use of expropriation measures in the Constitution and the new expropriation bill, once passed, will assist greatly. With regard to reversing the industrialization, the key features of the reindustrialization include the improved linkages between the primary and secondary productive sectors, a drive to remove constraints to manufacturing-led value-adding growth with special emphasis on labor-intensive sectors such as agro-processing, clothing, and textile.
Honorable Khai, your time has expired.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Mgwebe.
Honorable Chairperson, members and fellow South Africans, Brian Sandoval, an American politician, attorney and current 29th governor of Nevada, once said, I quote, "Unemployment, foreclosures, bankruptcy. The chore is not more government spending, but helping business create jobs." This afternoon, as this House is in session, the intent is to celebrate the workers' rights. But I want to remind the House that rights can only be celebrated when they are realized. So it means people must be employed for them to ensure those rights. Sadly, Chairperson, honorable members, the problem that we have in South Africa today is that we are unable to celebrate those workers' rights. And I will tell you what is the problem. We are living in a country where 8.9 million fellow South Africans want to work, but they have no jobs. We are living in a country where few jobs that are there are either threatened or are lost. South Africa is one of the countries in the world with the highest unemployment rate. Instead of losing jobs, we should be creating more jobs. Instead of threatening jobs, we should be bringing stability to our economy so that we can have more investors, so that our people can have jobs. What is wrong? Why are we unable to create jobs? Why are we losing even the jobs that we have created? Well, I will tell you why. The ANC-led government is failing to govern. Under the ANC government, the poultry industry is in a crisis. European countries mainly have been allegedly allowed to dump their chicken in South Africa. This is a surplus chicken way below the cost of production. While consumers benefit from this cheap chicken price, poultry imports are causing job losses. This is the industry that supports nearly 50,000 direct jobs and 130,000 indirect jobs. In February this year, Rainbow Chicken retrenched 1,350 workers, including managers. As if this is not enough, Country Bed will close down its Mahikeng abattoir, resulting in 939 direct and 1,605 indirect jobs, unless the government intervenes. The South African poultry industry has the potential of creating a whopping 26,725 direct and indirect jobs if South Africa's production can be competitively enhanced and marketed with protection from dumping. The survival of our poultry industry, food security, livelihood of rural economy, and the future of 130 workers and their families is largely in the hands of the ANC government that has failed so far to intervene, as the crisis has been there for almost 4 years for everyone to see. The only government response so far has been to set up a committee to look into the matter. I repeat, to look into the matter, which has only commenced only this year. What is there to celebrate when our people are losing jobs? What rights do they have when they are not employed? Again, our citrus industry in the Sundays River Valley in the Eastern Cape is in the midst of a disaster due to an unknown phenomenon, with up to 40% of oranges dropping off the trees at the farms. Besides the huge financial implications, it is a massive blow for those who rely on seasonal jobs, with the number of jobs down by a third already. Early indications point to a drought as a leading cause. The ANC government was asked by various stakeholders, including the Democratic Alliance, to declare drought a national disaster, but they refused. Look at the pain and the suffering they're causing today. Farmers could now lose up to 40% of their yield for the year, slashing the industry's annual gross domestic product contribution of 1.5 billion by the same percentage. This is a serious disaster, to say the least, considering that the citrus industry is the second biggest industry in the Eastern Cape, behind the motor industry. Honorable Chairperson, again I ask, what is there to celebrate when the citrus industry we have in our country is facing a looming disaster? Recently, our beloved country has been reduced to a junk status by various credit rating agencies, thanks to the ANC government. The ANC caused this crisis. They fired performing ministers and kept corrupt and incompetent ministers. Honorable Chairperson, according to Feng Shui, the Chinese proverb, I quote, "Birds don't fly, they ride the wind. Fish don't swim, they are carried by the water." Close quote. Our children are neither birds of the air nor fish of the sea. They need to be adequately prepared for the world of work. Yet the ANC government is failing all those children, as they are offered poor basic education that does not prepare them for the world of work. How do we then celebrate the workers' rights, given all this pain and suffering caused by the government of the ANC? Honorable Chairperson, members and fellow South Africans, it is clear that the ANC cannot govern. The ANC that once championed the cause of the poor, the marginalized and the downtrodden is no more. Honorable Chairperson, fellow South Africans, how do we fix this mess? Well, there is a solution. The DA is the solution. We have a proven track record of good governance and job creation. In the Western Cape, we have the lowest unemployment rate. We will support a growing manufacturing sector. We will make sure that South Africa is brought out of the junk status as quick as we can. ANC, inkomo ebhongilele ngecala, inkomo leli sengwa. The DA is ready to govern come 2019. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Order. Order. The Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, Deputy
Order.
Minister, honorable members, my greetings. Honorable Magwebu, bengicabanga ukuthi utokhuluma ngehistory ye-DA nabasebenzi, but you did not do that. Instead, you are talking about the ANC, and you are misrepresenting the history of the ANC and the workers. And you are not talking about a history at the A, nabasebenzi, because today we are talking about workers' rights. Because of your contribution and involvement in the workers' exploitation during apartheid.
Honorable Dlamini, please take your seat. Honorable Hatton. Honorable Dlamini, take your seat. Honorable Hatton, you are on your feet.
Honourable Chair, the honourable member addresses a member directly. She should address the chair, please. It goes on and on.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Dlamini, address the member through the chair.
Magwebu, form. As we all know.
Honorable Dlamini, address the member through the chair.
No, Chair, ngikhuluma ngeform Magwebu.
Angezwa. No, order, members. If I do not understand what the speaker on the podium says, I cannot rule.
Chair, bengikhuluma ukuthi ngineform naMagwebu la.
Oh, okay. Please continue.
We, the African National Congress, stand humbled by the contribution made by the workers of our beautiful country, South Africa. The country is what it is today because of the contribution of the workers. As we all know that the first day of May is Workers' Day, whereby as South Africans, we pledged our solidarity with workers in our country. It is also a day on which we reflect on our struggles as well as celebrating power of the working class in the country that we love so much. That is what the Honorable Magwebu Chair was supposed to talk about, their struggle as the DA with the workers. You have made South Africa a country of choice. I'm referring to the workers' preferred destination, a country to live in. By all means, we owe it to you. Our economic growth, not only South Africa, some countries today are claiming to be first world because of the contribution of the workers in South Africa and the world in general. Chairperson in the House, during the apartheid era, where DA was part as Democratic Party, together with the National Party, basebendi bebenganakwa bekungadiwa ukuthi kunetidzingo labanato akekho bekabacabangela ukuthi bafuna amanti bafuna gesi bafuna tindlu bantwana babesebendi nabo bebengama workers. Nobody bothered to protect children of workers as child labor. Nobody cared that workers' children need education. In terms of pay, they will decide whether to pay them or not, or underpay them. When to pay them, if they decide to pay them, workers did not have a say. They never thought about women who has to give birth to the children. Some women will work until the last day. I indicated, Chair, that my own sister, my mother went in the morning to the farm, came back with a child, meaning that bo mama besebenda aze abelegele M17. Child labor was the order of the day. We want to thank the ANC, firstly because of the history of the ANC with the workers, involvement of the ANC in the struggle. We did not decide about this law now because we're in government. We are coming way back with the workers. When ANC took over government, we came up with progressive labor laws and social policies that saw workers as human beings, not machinery. People who have needs, who wants to have easy access to water, sanitation, housing, electricity, social grant, good roads facilities, education policies, maternity leave for women. The impact of those policies that the ANC came up with. Firstly, as a woman, when you come back from work, you don't have to go and look for water somewhere. You just get water from the tap. You don't have to go around looking for firewood. There is electricity. There is sanitation. We acknowledge that there are still those who need those facilities. But the policies that the ANC has come up with is to ensure that all workers has access. These policies are made for workers because aba benefit because they had everything on their exposal. It is only the workers, Magweb. The African National Congress has a long history with worker struggle through the unions. We recognize the role played by unions who stood up for workers when it was not fashion to be in unions at the time. Unlike now, but unions stood up for workers and keep on, we are saying as the
Honorable
ANC.
Dlamini, please take your seat. Honorable Dlamini, please take your seat. Honorable member.
The member must just take the seat, Chair, then I can go on.
Honorable Dlamini, take your seat. I want to address this member. Moren.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would like to know if the honourable member would take a question, please.
Honorable Dlamini, do you wish to take a question?
Ngisadila ngama issues abasebenzi.
Please take a seat again, Honorable Member. I want to address you, sir. Honorable members, you do stand up on a point of order or on a point of privilege. Accord the person who is presiding to give the instructions. If you do take the liberty to give the instructions yourself, directly to the person on the podium, might come across as rude. So please desist. Please take your seat. Honorable Dlamini, she said she did not want to take the question. Honorable Dlamini, continue.
Honorable Chair, the tensions that all of them are shouting about and the COSATU, we were expecting that as the ANC. Because the ANC now is in government. For ANC in government, it does not mean that we have to ignore rights of the workers. Unions are representing workers. We are in government. So there will be tensions. And those are healthy tensions because we want to ensure that even though we are in government, but workers' rights are still observed. So you must understand those tensions are healthy tensions. The president is the president of government, so you must know that. We are not surprised, Honorable Chair, to see that there are people overall boots is fashion. We're not surprised because they don't know our issues, our workers. All what they see workers wearing those protective clothes, I must inform them anyway, Uguchi, even now my boots and nama overall, alula ngama unions. which ANC was part of that. They were not there before. They only wear those things when they are here in Parliament. When they go out, they wear their expensive clothes and they claim to be representing our workers. It is an insult to workers. They must cease. It shows the shallow-minded and knowledge of workers' issues.
Honorable
they are far
Dlamini.
deeper than that.
Honorable Dlamini, take your seat. Honorable Dlamini, are you prepared to take a question?
Chair, ngidila ngama issues abasebenzi.
Honorable member, she is not prepared. Please continue.
I want to say, Chairperson, I just want to tell them that those two, okay, I want to talk about those who are supporting Ongwawankulu and Bahlala Lai Parliament and claim to be concerned about our workers' rights. After babone ukuthi ke, government has come up with laws that protects our workers. Base ke, balanda abantu bangaphandle for cheap labor on the expense of our people, creating a tension amongst workers that on the scarce resources, which is work. Honorable Magwebo, bekakhuluma manje ngokuthi ANC, government, ANC, during the ANC government, there is highest unemployment rate. It's because nivumela labongqawankulu enibasupportayo ukuthi balande abantu abatoba exploiter. I do want to say, Chair, that those African people that they import to the country, them too are workers. They are human beings. They have rights. They need to be protected. We are saying a changing environment of work should accommodate women. Women must not be left out as the ANC. We are saying that. Since 1994, we have focused on legislative reforms that removed all forms of institutional discriminatory laws in the quest for a free, non-racial, non-sexist, peaceful, and democratic South Africa. As a result, we have made great progress in the empowerment of women. To date, the number of women participating, including politics, workplace, has increased. But I must say, Chairperson, that in the private sector, the senior management still reflect that the apartheid regime. Sithi ke hambani nitshele labangani benu bongqawankulu ukuthi abayilungise leyo nto leyo. We need to see women in the senior position in the private sector. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, ma'am. The Honorable Shabangu.
Chairperson, let me start first by reminding the latter speaker that history is the study of the past to analyze the future and to interpret the present. On behalf of all disfranchised workers in the country, and on behalf of all South Africans who are sick to the core of Jacob Zuma, members of COSATU on May Day showed Mr. Zuma and his band of corrupt leeches like Ace Magashule that they were not welcome as our leaders anymore. By chasing Zuma away, the workers were sending a clear message to the ANC and Mr. Zuma that they continue ignoring the voice of our people at their own peril. At stake here is a country at risk of being undermined and looted by a foreign Indian family and unscrupulous Zuma family.
Please take your seat. There is a point of order, ma'am.
Point of order ya ka ko hore na Honorable member, o hlahisa allegation ya hore nane President Jacob Zuma le Comrade Ace Magashule ba corrupt. Hore na ke molao wa parliament hore a tjho jwalo na.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Chabangu.
Can I proceed, Madam?
Honorable Chabangu, the point of order is that you are making an allegation about the president and Ndate Ace Magashule as corrupt. Can you say anything about it? Did you, in fact, make that allegation in your speech?
Yes.
Do you also recognize that if you make such an allegation, you must actually put a substantial motive?
It is not an allegation. The president is corrupt. He has cases that are pending, 100 and something cases.
Honorable Chabangu, there is an allegation. That allegation still has to be tested in court. Until then, can you provide us with a substantive motion that says, indeed, I can prove corruption here? I'm simply saying that in trying to push what you read and what you say is an allegation without grounds that are weighty in this House, you are impugning on a member who does come into this House.
I beg to withdraw and proceed.
Thank you, sir. Please proceed.
At stake here is a country at risk of being undermined and looted by a foreign Indian family and unscrupulous family. They loot our resources while workers in this country languish in a misery of slave wages, slave-like working conditions, and rising unemployment. This is all a product of the ANC inability to transform our country in any significant way. 23 years after attainment of political freedom, the vestige of colonial and apartheid economic architecture are still deeply embedded in our society. Protection.
You are protected. You are protected, sir. Proceed.
I'll come and explain. I'm a teacher. 23 years after the attainment of political freedom, whites still earn 6 times more than blacks in this country. 23 years after the attainment of political freedom, more than 60% of working people earn less than 3,500 per month. And 23 years after the attainment of freedom, about 40% of our country and women are unemployed. 23 years after the attainment of political freedom, about 17 million South Africans depend solely on social grants for their livelihoods. Today, 2 white men own more wealth than the bottom 50% of the population. It is for this reason that we commend those workers who defied the factional leading of COSATU and chased the Zuma away from Workers' Day celebration. Workers have been given the short end of the stick for far too long in this country. It is the workers who are the product of the wealth. It is the workers who toil for hours in the mines of this country in return for a pittance that is not even enough to buy food for their families, let alone send their children to school. The wealth produced by workers is not for the benefit of their workers, but is benefiting big companies' bosses who happen to be white. It is for this reason that we as EFF would want to rearrange and redefine the nature of our society. This redefinition must be first and foremost be premised on the understanding that workers are producers of the wealth in this country. Secondly, the wealth producers must be for the material and spiritual satisfaction of the majority of our people. Thirdly, our society and social activity in education, in culture, in the legal profession, in the military, the police, and all sectors of society must be ordered to conform to these ideas. Our most immediate goals, however, are the following. We demand equal pay for equal work as a matter of agency. We demand an immediate abolition of labor brokers. We demand a fair living wage for mine workers, for petrol attendants, for taxi drivers, for domestic workers, for security guards, for farm workers, and for all disenfranchised sectors of the working class. All this will not happen without dismantling the colonial structure of the South African economy. We need the land, we need the mines, and strategic